I'm Grace Torie, and you're listening to That Girl the Podcast. Grab a beverage of choice and settle in, because the new episode is starting now. Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl, Grace Torie, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. I'm so excited for today's episode. I feel like I don't talk about relationships enough, but I want to talk about them more. Because your girl's been through it. I've been through all the stages, all the phases, all the situationships, relationships, toxic, healthy, everywhere in between. And I've got the tea. But for today's episode, it started off as just reading crazy first date stories that you guys submitted. And it's moved on to crazy situations in general that are like dating centered. And then giving you guys advice. So I just screenshotted it. We're going to be just going through the screenshots. Some are advice, some are just like stories. So we'll figure it out as we read it together. I'm excited to go on this entertaining journey slash hopefully helpful journey with you guys. So we have all the tea. I don't think I really have any life updates going on right now. I'm just working on straightening up the house, cleaning everything, getting it all where it needs to go. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on here. Other than that though, let's go ahead and jump on into the episode. Yeehaw. Oh wait, before I do, don't forget to follow on whatever platform you're watching on right now. Like if you're on YouTube, and rate/review if you're on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It takes about 0.2 seconds. It's totally free and blows up the podcast so that even more girlies can join the community and have fun with us. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump on in. So this one is a little long. It's just a first date story, but it says, after a second date with this guy I had met a week prior, he dropped me off at my house. I told him that he needed to go over to my neighbor's house. That I needed to go over to my neighbor's house. I'm already messing this up. In order to pick up some baked goods she had made for me. I gave him a kiss and declined his offer to have sex, which I could tell made him a little annoyed. Oh, yeah, by the way, probably should have said this earlier, but there is going to be some more adult themes. So if you're listening to this with your kid in the car or whatever, maybe don't. We are going to be talking about sex. Maybe don't listen to it with your kid. Yeah? Okay. Little disclaimer. Nothing too crazy though, but I did want to put that out there that if you don't want them listening to that, maybe don't. Okay. So I got out of his car, went into my neighbor's house, and chatted with her for a little bit. This lasted about 10 minutes. When I came out of my neighbor's house, which is directly next door to mine, he was still sitting there in his car. He asked me where I'd been, and I told him my neighbor's, like I said. He then told me to stop lying and threatened to call the FBI and DEA on me. I'm not joking. Okay. Then he said he was going to knock on my neighbor's door to make sure it was actually my neighbor. I told him that our date is over and I had no responsibility to tell him where I'm going after that. I walked in my house and he was still sitting there. I called him and said if he didn't leave in 5 minutes, I'm calling the police, and he pulled off. The next day, he sent me all these memes about betrayal. We went on 2 dates, so I blocked him. Yeah, blocking is definitely the way to go here. I don't understand what the FBI and the DEA would be able to do about you getting some baked goods from your neighbors. I really don't think they would care. So, like, call them. Go ahead, be my guest. But, yeah, that's a red flag and a half there. That's, like, the red flag of all red flags. That's concerning. So, block him. Don't like that. Next one. Guy suggested coming over as a first date. Am I wrong to be offended? Matched with this dude. He asked, want to hang out? And I said, sure. What do you have in mind? He's like, share a drink, your place? And to clarify, I asked if he wants to come over directly to mine. He said, well, it would be nice, but if you want to meet up for the first time in a bar, it's fine as well. And ended it with a laugh cry emoji and a tongue emoji. I responded saying yes, LOL. I didn't let people into my home before I have even met them, or into my bedroom without them showing any effort. I'm tempted to ask him if he's this bold with other girls, if there's something about me that made me look like I'm easy. Definitely not going to meet this dude, but am I wrong to feel a bit insulted, or is it just an innocent request? He asked, I said no, he said alright, the end. Honestly, if you're on a dating app, that's kind of what men use it for in this day and age. So, should you be offended? I mean, yeah, but also that's what most men think the dating apps are for. So I think that telling him that that's not what you're interested in would be the first way to go about it. I'm not saying that it's right that they only use dating apps for that, but it's just been a common theme that most men assume that that's what you're also on it for. So I think clarifying and saying, yo, that's not what I'm about, would be the best way to start things out. And then if he's like, I'm not interested, or keeps alluding to that, then you can be like, no, like, absolutely not. I just feel like most apps, and I could be, there are some apps that are not like that, obviously. Like, there are some apps that people have found wonderful people on, but like, I would say 80% of the men that are on most dating apps are on there because they want to hook up and they're not really looking for anything serious. So that's my hot take. I think that you should definitely set boundaries and be like, nah, that's not what I'm about. And if it continues to be like that's the vibe, then trust your gut. Trusting your gut is the best thing you can do in any of these situations. So if you're offended and you think that that's like the kind of guy that he is, then you have no responsibility to continue talking to him. That's the beautiful thing about being single or matching or whatever you want. Even if you're in a relationship, you don't really owe it to them to continue dating them just because you spoke to them in the first place. You can cut it off. So that's, you know, trust your gut always. This one is like kind of like need advice. He invited me on a date and got 3 of his own drinks, and then when the bill came, asked to separate it out and charge him for his 3 drinks and me for my 1. The bartender explained they couldn't do that, and they went back and forth for a bit because he couldn't understand why not. Finally, I offered to split the bill down the middle with him, but instead we settled on me Venmoing him for my drink and tip. Even though I was getting good vibes the entire time, at this point I assumed he wasn't interested. When I got home a bit later, he had messaged me saying he had a ball and wanted to do it again. Literally so confused how to feel about this. Yeah, no. He should have just paid. Like, if he couldn't afford your 1 drink, maybe he shouldn't have gotten 3 and just gotten 2. I'm very old school in the sense that I think that if the guy invites you on the date and picks where you go, he should be able to pay for it. I'm sorry. That's my personal opinion on it. You are, if you disagree, totally fine. Tell me all about how you disagree. I'm happy and open to have the conversation about it, but that's what I personally believe, and I think that if he would have just gotten 1 drink and said, sorry, I can't pay for yours, it still would have been like a warning flag. But the fact that he got so many and was like, no, I can't pay for yours, then that's a red flag. I'm out. No. So yeah, if he couldn't afford that, then you could have gone somewhere else, or he could have just not drank 3 drinks. That's my thoughts on it. So I went on a first date Friday night with a man that I've been talking to for a little over 2 months. We met through mutuals, he added me on Instagram, and it kind of just went from there. There was no actual intent on dating the first month of chatting. There was a friendship, and it naturally grew into more. We texted every day and FaceTimed. We didn't meet up as quickly because he lives 2 hours away, and he had lagged on the 3 previous attempts to hang out. Yes, I know how that looks. It was always BS excuses. I'm sick, my eye is red, I'm scared to meet you because I'm not social. But somehow I was dumb enough to look past it. I knew he was extremely shy. Yeah, girly, I would have cut it off there, but continue. He finally made plans to visit me on his day off and decided to book a room, suggesting we have dinner and meet for breakfast the next morning. But red flags were starting to appear before he even got to my city. For example, when I asked for his ETA so I can get ready, he replied with a snarky, why would you need to get ready? I told you I always look like a bum. Don't dress too nicely, it'll just make me feel awkward. I thought it was weird, but I decided to reassure him, like I always had to do, despite the uneasiness, knowing he had self-esteem issues due to the constant self-deprecating remarks he made about himself to me. So he makes it to the hotel, tells me he doesn't want to pick me up because he's driving an old car and that he needed to reset before meeting me. So I was like, sure, that's fine. I thought maybe he just wanted to lay down for a bit or something. He tells me when to head out. I go to the restaurant approximately 5 to 8 minutes after him, greeted him warmly, and all I got was a cold, did you see what I texted you? It's a 40-minute wait. I said, oh, okay, should we go walk? We're in a marketplace setting. Meanwhile, he's sulking and obviously annoyed. He gets up, I guess, saying, then I suggest we sit at an empty table so we can comfortably talk, and he got even more irritated. We sit down, he tells me, this is annoying, why would you pick this place knowing I don't like crowds? I feel like you did this maliciously and on purpose to take shots at me. He told me in a previous conversation that he doesn't like crowds, but in no way did I think to this extent. I was in shock. I again tried to reassure him that I would never do such a thing, even asking him if he wanted to go somewhere else. He declined, what's the point, I already put my name down. He gets the table is ready text, so we get seated, and while we're looking at the menu, I mentioned I might just get something small, but he even got annoyed at that. He said, why would you pick this place knowing you were just going to get an appetizer? It's awkward that I'm going to be eating and you're not. At this point, getting up and walking out was running through my head. He ordered hot sake? I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm sorry, I'm uncultured. Shots. Took the first one without me, lol. Told me to taste his cocktail, so I took 2 sips, and he said, might as well keep it since you're drinking it all. Fast forward to the end of the night. He pays the bill, and we walk outside. He offers to walk me to my car and asks, where'd you park at? I tell him I park behind the theater. He replies, like I know where the hell that's at. Not even halfway there, I stop him, and we exchange a few words, gave him a side hug, and dipped. When I got home, I texted, thanks for dinner. He instantly responded, you're welcome. I'm sorry for taking your time. WTF, I've never been treated this way, and was in absolute disbelief. After that text, I blocked him and everything. You know what this sounds like? You know what this is giving? You know the nice guys that, like, say that, nice guys always finish last. I can't find a girl because girls always want a bad guy. I'm just too nice. I'm always last one standing. Those guys. That's what this sounds like. Self-esteem issues, everything, they're the victim. Nice guys always finish last vibes. I cannot stand them. I'm sure there's someone out there who thinks it's endearing and has the tolerates it, but I don't got time for that. You sound very, like, that guy sounds very manipulative. You dodged a bullet. I know you weren't looking for your advice, you were just venting, but yeah, you dodged a bullet. Here's one that's advice. Haven't dated in a while, so definitely a bit out of my comfort zone here. I met up with a cute guy through an app last weekend over coffee, and while the date was okay, I'm definitely interested in getting to know him better. He thanked me for meeting up with him on short notice since he's traveling for work next weekend, and I gave him a hug goodbye. An hour later, I thanked him for coffee and added a joke I made over the date. He replied 2 hours later and responded to my joke. Then the next day, I replied to his text and said, let me know if you want to meet up again, but no response at all after that. It's been 5 days. This means he's not interested, right? Should I move on? Yeah, move on. The thing about it is, he will reach out to you. He has your number. You did what you need to do. Now keep on your hot girl shit. And he will reach out to you if he wants to. I'm a huge believer that girls need to stop putting in so much effort because guys will make it known if they're interested in you. We beg and beg and beg for attention. I've been there. I've been the girl who's been Snapchatting him like, hey, you didn't respond. You're so quirky. You know, like, and it's just stupid. Like, guys are going to go for the girl, and correct me if I'm wrong, but guys are going to either show you they're interested in you from the moment they meet you, and that's that, or they're going to go for the girl that they have to kind of chase a little and put effort into, and not the girl that makes it super easy for them. Like, that's my opinion on it. That's my experience. So he has your number. You are way too important to be wasting your time with someone who may or may not be interested in you. He will reach out to you if he wants to. You do your thing, chicken wing. Keep it moving. Here's another little short advice one. 3 days after my first date with a guy, I had a fever and have been diagnosed with bacterial tonsillitis. We certainly kissed enough for there to be a chance that I contracted it from him. However, the date went very well. I really fancy him and he seemed like a nice guy. Should I go on a second date with him? Yes. You definitely should. That's that. I mean, maybe like bring it up later down the road if it goes that well, like months from now, be like, hey, haha. But yeah, no, I would say yeah. So I met this guy on Tinder and we went on a date. It went okay. We made out, exchanged numbers, and Snapchatted a bit after the date. His replies were so slow, sometimes hours later, sometimes days later. So I tried texting him, asked him if he wanted to hang out again. No reply. It's been weeks now and I would like to see him again. I'm thinking of sending one last Snapchat, but I'm not sure what to say. Help, please. Also, opinions on this. Why would he give me his number and continue conversation after the date, albeit very briefly, instead of just cutting off contact immediately after the date if he didn't like me? Yeah, no, he doesn't like you. Stop wasting your time. Move on, girl. You are better than this. You don't need to be wasting your time on someone who doesn't give you that same mutual respect and effort. He gave you your number and continued conversation because it's easier to just cut you off and then he doesn't have any responsibility or confrontation. Whereas if he would have done it there, he has to feel guilt and it's a lot more like emotional responsibility, I guess. So that's why. It's just easier. He didn't want the responsibility and guilt of doing it then. Ooh, we got a situationship one that needs advice. Hello, had a friends with benefits situation with this guy for a month in college. We hit it off right away and he was really enthusiastic and caring. We spent lots of time together and would cuddle to sleep, lol. A while in, I said I should stop coming over for a while. He seemed surprised. After that, he seemed to get distant and aloof around me. It's getting worse and worse. He still voluntarily hangs out with me, but unlike before when we could talk about anything openly, he seems really flat and almost like his head is somewhere else. He doesn't really look at me like at all. But when I mention other guys, he acts reactive, surprised. Otherwise, he's like very flat. When I bump into him now, it's so awkward and he just mumbles hello. Whereas with other acquaintances that he's not that close to, he enthusiastically greets them. He still helps me, is willing to join in my group for a 4-month-long art project, though he's not in that class, and won't receive any academic benefits. I'm not sure if he lost feelings or is just feeling uncomfortable because he perceives romantic rejection from me or for other reasons. After I inferred we should stop for a while, I didn't make any romantic advances and just actively keep the friendships. What are your thoughts? This is a hard one because it could be one of two things. It could be his ego is hurt, or I guess it could be one of three things. His ego is hurt, he doesn't want a relationship, but he doesn't want to stop the friends with benefits. Or he wants a relationship and he is hurt because he doesn't want to be the one who makes the first move because he doesn't want to get rejected, so he feels like you rejected him. I think that you did the right thing. You need to do what's best for you, and no matter what, this is on him not communicating as well as he could. So honestly, keep on doing you. If you feel like it needs to have a conversation where you say, all right, how are you feeling? Then do that. But when you said that you don't want to have friends with benefits, you were giving him the opportunity to communicate how he's feeling towards you. So you already gave him that opportunity. And if he didn't use it, then he didn't use it. I think that if you want to give him a second opportunity and say, hey, I noticed things are weird, like what's up, then you can do that, but you don't really owe him that. He's a full adult, and if he wants to communicate how he feels with you, then he will. If he's not mature enough to do that, then he won't. But don't lose sleep over it. You did the right thing. You did what's best for you, and you communicated that to him, and now the ball's in his court. Love bombed my ex, ... now ghosted. I just recently moved out of the house I bought with my now ex. We were dating, not married, but he had promised me we would eventually get married, that he loved me, and we shared dreams of what our home would become. Girl, we all heard that before. Fast forward to 3 months later when he told me he would no longer love me, that I was an obligation and a burden, and that he no longer found me attractive, etc. And a lot of other harsh things. I'm so sorry. I was devastated and couldn't figure out for the life of me what I did wrong, but knew I had to get out of that situation as it was completely messing with my head and emotions. That was 2 months ago. This week, my ex and I hooked up again, but this time was sweet. Romantic, tender. He actually told me, and I felt that he truly meant it, that he did love me after all and had really missed me. The next day he texted me really sweet messages all throughout the day like he had done before. Neither of us addressed what had happened during the breakup because I don't think we wanted to ruin the good moments we were sharing again. I'd actually started to entertain thoughts of us being together again. Maybe we could make it worth this time. Now he's ghosted me completely, so it seems. Left my recent message undelivered and no contact for a few days, leaving me bewildered, wondering what on earth did I do? Should I reach out? I know he's still my ex, and I was the one who decided to leave, but I can't help but feeling that maybe he once again love bombed me and then discarded me. Does this sound accurate, or am I overthinking too much? He definitely love bombed you and is using you at his disposal. Get out. Yeah, you don't deserve that. You deserve so much better than someone who emotionally manipulates you, and you need to leave. To put it simply, he is just going to keep using you at his disposal because he knows he can. You need to tell him no and get out. He is just horrible. He's a horrible man. I'm so sorry that you're going through that. I'm sorry that the emotional turmoil is so big right now. I wish I could give you a hug, but you deserve so much better than this. You're gonna find someone who loves you and doesn't keep an inconsistent situation with you where he won't like consistently reassure you that he does love you, and you deserve so much better. This is 100% a toxic relationship and you should not be a part of it. This one, they want advice on if they overreacted. I've been dating a guy for almost 3 months. In that time, due to holidays and busy stuff, we only managed to meet up about 7 times. But when we did, it was a lovely time. He would make comments about me getting on with his friends and would put me in his be real towards the end, ask me to go to gigs, go on spa days. But to me, it all didn't ever seem it would materialize. He was quite forgetful about things I told him. I tried to organize a gig night and he was a tad flaky, and our dates were usually instigated by me. I think he was worried to ask me sometimes. We spoke most days on text, although it became more intermittent towards the end. to the point where you couldn't really have great conversations because the message felt a little redundant by the time you responded 24 hours later. He would always say he was bad at messaging, which I'm never sure whether to believe. I guess some people genuinely are. He wasn't on his phone loads, but some seem to just use it as a way to not develop intimacy further. I'm someone who's dating for a relationship and I'm wanting to create a bond with someone. It was becoming more clear he was not on the same page. This week I called things off. He had told me that he didn't want anything long-term as he's traveling. We'd had a brief break whilst he figured things out, but his mindset didn't change. We kept dating casually after it, but I guess the lack of responses were making me more anxious knowing he didn't want anything long-term. I found it hard when he spoke to me in person about his short-term wants, and I also found it difficult knowing he was still updating photos and things on his dating profile. I was feeling really insecure and reading into everything. I felt like he couldn't really like me that much. I knew he had different mindsets. I met up with him to call things off. I know it's the best thing because I don't want what he wants, but he really latched onto the fact he doesn't reply being a key factor to it ending when it wasn't really. It was more his general attitude towards casual and low commitment. For me, things felt inconsistent, messaging either a lot or not at all, hot and cold, and the fact we wanted different things was triggering my rejection sensitivity. He said he did actually like me, and it wasn't anything other than he's not looking for something long-term, and that he's just crap on his phone, which maybe just isn't right for me with my current wants and needs. I guess, though, even though I know it was the right thing, I can't help but wonder if I did overreact to certain things internally. Is it reasonable to be triggered by things such as inconsistent replies, hinge updates, etc. after 6 dates? Does this trigger most people? I have OCD, so can struggle with not doubting my mind. I guess when I met up with him, I realized maybe it's easy to read into things, but sadly, as it's not easy to date someone who isn't sure what they want. I just find it hard to know if I read into it too much. I can do so usually, give myself space to think before reacting and ending things. Whether it genuinely was not something that was not working for me. Okay, so I also have OCD, so I understand totally where you're coming from. And up until you said that he was updating his dating profile, still, I was like kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt. But what I'm going to tell you is, although him not texting back is not necessarily a bad thing, you want someone who gives you reassurance. And there's nothing wrong with you wanting that, but that's not him. And you kind of alluded to it multiple times. I'm not sure if you really told him that and he changed, but obviously, he's not going to give you what you need. It's not that he's a good guy. It's not that he's a bad guy. The hinge thing is kind of shitty. You've been on 6 dates and he hasn't committed. If you watched the Barbie movie, I think it was the long-term, low commitment girlfriend. I think that's what they said. That's kind of the vibes it's giving. I just think that you want different things and you did the right thing by cutting it off. No, you're not overreacting. Nothing is wrong with cutting it off because someone doesn't offer you what you want or need. That's the whole point of dating, is you're finding someone who's gonna check off your list of things that you need. So he doesn't meet that list. You're gonna find someone who does. Don't feel guilty about it. You did not overreact. You are doing what's best for yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. So that is the last thing that I have, last story/advice. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. Let me know if I should do more story/advice videos. I really enjoyed this one. If you do want me to, let me know if it should be on relationships, what it should be on. I did the college one last week that was more advice, but if you want me to do like stories, like roommate stories or anything like that, definitely let me know. I think I did one a while back, but I can definitely do more. Other than that, I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. I upload every single Sunday and Wednesday. Don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, whatever you're on. Do that. Definitely let me know if you enjoyed this. Share with your friends who you think would also enjoy it. It would mean the world to me. It's a way to support a small growing podcast for free that takes about 2 seconds. And I think that's pretty much it. I love you guys so much. I'm gonna go eat some Oreos because that sounds fire and then edit this episode. But yeah, I love you. If you're watching this on the Wednesday night it comes out, I hope you have a great night. If you're watching this any other time, I hope you have a great morning, afternoon, or night. You are so special, so beautiful, and you deserve the world. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next podcast episode. Bye, guys.